Good morning, viewers, and welcome to your weekend edition of the Strategic Management Program, where we discuss leadership, strategy, and management. Today, we'll continue our series on leadership in the pandemic era, part 2 of it, as we look around developments in Nigeria, considering the pandemic effects and how we'll navigate this and move on from here. With me is a regular guest, CEO of Psyntech Nigeria Limited and the management consultant, Mr. John Wesey. Nice to have you, Mr. John Wesey.
Thank you. And thank you once again.
I must say, looking refreshed. It's just a positive. Amidst the pandemic, there's a lot to be thankful for.
Absolutely. So much to thank God for.
Yes. It's a weekend, so let's just give you some updates for Nigeria. The current cases confirmed is 53,477. 41,017 people have been discharged, and we've now hit the mark of 1,011 deaths. So over 1,000 people have passed on. We condole with families of those who lost their lives this period to COVID-19. But the interesting fact from this is that the tests have been increasing. We have over 394,000 tests now achieved by the Nigeria Center for Disease and Control, and definitely expect more in terms of what our guest has been saying. The partnership with private sector has really helped in scaling the test, which was initially very slow in the first 2 months when this pandemic had its effects and led to lockdowns. So, Mr. Wesey, in terms of I know you praised the efforts of the federal government and the state governments in managing the information, the process, and response to the pandemic. But let's look at the healthcare service again, which is very critical. Would you say that the public and private sector have really come together? Because recently the Lagos State Commissioner for Health, Professor Akinwunmi, looked at how PPP can be effective and said private sector can intervene in the area of service delivery, while the public, the government, can now handle the issue of the enabling policy for that.
Well, he's not saying anything new. Absolutely, he's not saying anything new. But let me also reemphasize that so far, so good in terms of Nigeria's management of the pandemic has been good. And we also need to thank our citizens for doing their best to comply. But what you also find out is as we open up more, we're seeing some worrying trends, which they are doing their best to manage. All we keep saying is people should just comply, wear your face mask, do the best that you can, be as hygienic as you need to. Now, to come back to your question on the PPP between the private and the public sector, there is no model that we adopt that is wrong. No model. But the most important thing is the policies must be actionable. That's number one. Then number two, I think this pandemic has opened us up to see the paucity, if I should use that word. I'm struggling to try and be mild. Okay. To see how poor we've done in terms of our health systems, policies or infrastructure to date. But more than ever before, here is an opportunity, and which is what Professor Bayami was talking about. Here is an opportunity for us to review how that relationship has been, and begin to take appropriate steps. And I agree with him. As everybody in that space, begin to do what is right, in line with our climb. There is something that is very important in policy implementation or in policy pronouncement or in policy development. You need to look at your environment. So you don't just bring highfalutin ideas, okay? You need to look at your environment and craft your policies in line with your environment to see what will work. People are wondering that this pandemic started from where? China. But today, the Chinese have the lowest new cases that are happening. Okay? You're not asking why. Because they have a health system for which their traditional medicine was strongly integrated with Western medicine.
Which Nigeria is trying to adopt through NAFTA.
But it took a long period. So what they've done in the course of the pandemic was for them to look at their meal and look at whatever and to boost their immune system for them to be able to withstand. Okay, it is the same thing. It is the same thing. So I think policy experts in the public sector, all right, and everybody in that space, okay, the kind of conversations that we need to be doing now should reflect lessons that we are learning. Lessons that we are learning now to use to improve both the primary, secondary, and the tertiary health systems that we have.
Lagos has as an effective model. The primary health care, the secondary hospitals, general hospitals, and of course the tertiary, the teaching hospitals. Well noted, Mr. Wesey.
Don't be too fast to say Lagos State is ahead.
No. In terms of the modeling, that's what, you know, in state management.
Yes.
Every time you watch what is happening, you look at how states are repackaging and remodeling their healthcare system, and reassuring investors of how they are going about it and where private sector can come in. So Lagos is one example. Other states are doing their best, but you need to continue to pitch that. We will see that more and also bring it to the fore when it's done. But
that's what I'm telling you, that other states are doing
it. Yes.
The only difference is that because, again, it has to do with the media.
And of course, the health ministry also engaging, and that's what we
engagement.
Other health
very important. Other states to do.
We have,
partner with media. Let's see what you're doing. Let's see how the progress you are making.
Definitely.
So that they won't feel biased. You know, I'm giving the feedback from someone I met, a health commissioner from another state. You guys from Lagos just think everything is just in Lagos. We said no, that's not true.
Personally, I think it's a lot has to be done. I mean, this week I had a conversation in the Economy and Politics show, and just yesterday we had the capital importation report. It still shows again Lagos is a single dominant state when it comes to attracting. So we need to come to that level where investment, you can say some other states are also in the fore. So yes, it's not about Lagos, I agree with you. It's about other states. And hopefully we'll come to that level where Professor Chukwuma Soludo said we have 5 or 6 other Lagos states that are also pitched.
Absolutely.
Beyond
Absolutely.
And in this week, we saw the growth rates. We contracted. As yesterday, Mr. Wesey, I know you have a lot to do with Canada. Canada is in a recession now too. UK is in a recession. You also have a lot of people and you're engaged there too. And Japan. Now we're seeing also that Canada is in a recession. In Nigeria, it is inevitable. The next quarter, analysts are saying we can't escape this. But I'm looking at business leaders, people like you, and I know you're having interactions with your colleagues, navigating this period and avoiding that particular aspect of right sizing, let's not say downsizing, and managing businesses in this period. It's going to be a challenging time. What would you be saying in terms of leadership and strategy in this period for corporations and even SMEs?
Although everybody is trying to survive, the first thing is you look at your situation, you look at your country, you look at what is available to you. Any country that is going into recession, or we are looking at the low growth first quarter report that has eventually come out
minus 6.1 contraction
across most nations is down. That is expected. All right? No economic activity has taken place globally. Very few,
the lockdowns,
very few economic activity. Now, as a business leader, one of the things you need to do is to go back and review all plans. Review all plans. What should change? In a recent conversation I had, your targets should change. Your service,
or service
deliveries, both in products, process, whatever, should go back and review it. And let them respond to reality, to what we are doing. So every business leader that you see today, everybody is doing something that is ad hoc. But I think with the benefit of hindsight, if you've done ad hoc up to 4 months, and the prediction is that a vaccine is nowhere feasible until towards the end of next year. So why don't you extend your business plan now, while your mode of operation, you should have reverted to normalcy in line with current realities. So that's what you do. So all the high expectations we all had, we have to temper it down, okay, in line with reality, while living in what? In optimism, you know, and approaching different people. Technology has come to play. So more than ever before, you discover that contracts will be reviewed. These are realities. I was talking to a few people the other day, you know, at a session that I had the honor of, you know, leading, and I was telling them nothing is wrong with you looking at all of your contracts in line with what you have. For example, if we had an existing contract, a retainership, okay, before, that we needed to be paying 5 naira, but things have so significantly affected the way we are operating now.
Which is one of the things that has been recently discussed, that we may have to now look at our laws, particularly about the issue of those that are, maybe because of loans and debts, that the issue of pandemic now have to redefine too. But that's
absolutely.
That
so you come back, you look at all of, because it's a huge supply chain issue. It's a huge value chain issue, whichever you want to look at it, whichever way you want to look at it. So you begin to look at all of the, come guys, this is the way things are now, and this is the way we've been operating. We need to look at this contract again. We need to look at this contract again. We need to behave like this. We need to behave. It's a give and take situation, you know, because the first thing is for all of us to survive, all right, and become sustainable. That mindset needs to pervade, needs to be pervasive across. And I think if we all do that, you get my point, then we will successfully coast home to new ways of doing business. But if I keep looking at just me, my firm alone, or your firm alone, then there's going to be lots of friction. Then we obviously will not end up doing what? Anything.
So there will be the new approach to strategies.
The new approach, which every organization is doing, is collaboration. So the ways in which you collaborate, okay, is the most important thing. How are we collaborating with this? What kind of relationship we had before? Okay, this is the economic reality, because it has to do with economics. This is the economic reality that we face now. So how can we collaborate or still work together with respect to the realities that we,
collaboration strategies that works with the economic realities.
Yes, just
very important.
Be collaborative minded. Be minded of a win-win situation. Listen, guys, let's all cross this season together. So I think that's the best way business leaders, and I think that's what most people are doing.
This period.
I think that's what most people are doing, which is why before we came on set, we're talking about lots of organizations slashing salaries, allowances. The only people we have not heard, the only sector we have not heard mentioned about this is the public sector.
Public sector, okay.
Because you can't keep...
In Nigeria, in the country.
In Nigeria, I'm talking about Nigeria.
A call for reduction in the size of government and expenditure.
It is inevitable. It is inevitable that they also need to respond to this reality so that every one of us feel we are in this together. So we shouldn't just be in this together
by word, but by
action.
Definitely, that's the key takeaway. And that brings us to rethinking education. And there has been a lot of delays in terms of when schools resume. Federal Ministry of Education has been really exploring the options. Initially, the academic staff union university said they were not ready, but now I think the signal for what we saw today is that, well, we're ready to resume universities. Graduating classes are on with the exams. So in terms of resumption of schools and managing this pandemic effect, what would you be saying to governments at the federal, state, and including local government levels? What is critical at this stage? I
will only re-emphasize what we've had before.
Yes.
Because we've had this conversation, but it can never be too much. Are the schools ready? When I say the schools, the administrators, the teachers, the lecturers, the scholars, are they ready? Where? In their mind. You see, the mind is a very powerful thing. It's a very powerful force. If they are ready in their mind to resume, Then we will see it in the things that they put in place for safe resumption, because the key is not just to resume, but safe resumption. Especially when we've seen in other climes that in spite of the goodness of their mind
and the robust systems
they have, but because inadequate preparation inadequate preparation were made to welcome students back to classes. Look what happened.
A resurgence.
So what did they do?
They closed down.
So for us, we have a lot of learnings for which our lecturers and our schools should be willing to come back. But are the schools, have they put in place those measures, those guidelines, to get that done? For example, if you fly, I've done a few movements recently. For every flight that takes place and comes down, before the next boarding is called, the aircraft is disinfected.
Okay.
Yes, the aircraft is disinfected before the next set of people come in. The same thing, the classes. If we adopt the COVID protocols, for example, after 1 hour, we need to ask the students to exit, they disinfect the class, and they come back.
That's very important.
That's 1. 2, and they will not be in school or in classes as long as they used to be. These things are not rocket science because we're in a unique period. So we just need to make sure that we also define these approach, these processes, this infrastructure, the way things need to work, which is what I'm saying is in the mind. It's in the moment the mind is truly committed, or man is truly committed to anything, all of the, all of the ingenuity of man comes to bear. I think it's good. While I want full to schooling resume, my only question is, at the federal, state, and local government, as well as the private schools, have they deployed the necessary guidelines and things they need to put in place for students to come back?
That's a big question. And
for students to come back. If the answer is yes, let's go. But they must also have it at the back of their mind. It is not yet Uhuru.
Yeah, it's not yet Uhuru. and that goes on to just 1 second, your views around the international flight resumptions in this new week. What do you expect to see really happen in terms of the management process? You've taken 1 or 2 flights at the local level. So for international, would you say you're impressed with the level of management, and what should be done to ensure that those protocols are fully adhered to as we open international flights?
If we follow the protocols in domestic that are good enough, very good enough, trust me, very good enough, international should not be a problem. Our only problem is we need to keep track of those who are traveling, who are coming in, because we are likely to face what? Importation of the virus. You get my point. We need to keep proper track of them. Because if we've managed this well because of the lockdown, if we've managed this, so now everyone coming in, we must have their full data and where they are going, and where they are residing, for tracking and tracing purposes. This is very important. So if those measures are properly in place, we don't have a problem. So we could get that done. As the case may be. Also, even if you go to hotels, they are operating below 50% capacity.
They're following the
I can
guidelines.
tell you that guests are not even coming unless it is absolutely important. That's my experience. Guests are not coming unless it is absolutely important.
Definitely. So the whole protocols must be fully adhered to and strictly.
Absolutely.
And during this period of the pandemic, we've seen some very remarkable bills signed into law. One of them is the Company and Light Matters Act. It's been really a big talk across the country, particularly for the provisions for the not-for-profit. What are your 1 or 2 views around it? I mean, this has really brought in particularly faith-based organizations raising concerns, and you have been discussing with a lot of people across the country and even outside the country around this. What are the 1 or 2 things you would like to say? The Vice President this week said, for those who have the concerns, we can reach out to the National Assembly to see the provision of amendments where necessary.
The thing has been signed into law.
I know.
So I don't know what they are talking about. We're only asking about governance improvement. So I think it is wrong for faith-based organizations to think that the edits that have been done for the governance for not-for-profits is targeted at them.
Okay.
I think it is wrong.
So that's the first perception.
That's the first perception they need to disabuse themselves. That's why you see some other NGOs. Also, a couple of years ago, many years back, you know, in the course of this work, a particular multilateral development partner, you know, recruited us many years ago to go and audit what some NGOs are doing for them in programs that they are funding. Yeah. The level of fraud and corruption taking place is unimaginable.
Unprecedented. That's one word.
And that's because there was no proper governance in place. That was because our laws that allowed this not for profit entities to operate was not strong enough to checkmate them. So by the time we reverted back to these clients, you know, by the time we reverted back to them and we are showing, we are frustrated. In the first place, the funds that were being disbursed, they were not adequately used. They were not appropriately disbursed or used for the project that they were supposed to do. So the impact they felt they needed to achieve, they were not seeing it. Okay, our most recent example was Bill Gates,
who has lamented that he has spent so
much.
Until
he cried out and said, what is happening here? We've invested this much in our health system.
Primary health.
And we don't have data for, we can't see the impact. Meanwhile, billions have been invested.
Several NGOs have been on the line saying that they work.
You get my point. These were abuses. So it has nothing to do with faith-based organization. You get the point. Like I argue, if you look at the Orthodox churches, are they complaining? The Catholic Church, the Anglican Church, the Methodists, are they complaining? No.
Presbyterians and
Presbyterian, the Lutheran Church.
Methodists.
Are they complaining? No. They have no issue because they already have those governance. They already have those governance structures in place. So why are people talking? Why are people making noise where there is none? By the way, why are they just making this noise? Because when this revision was being done for review, there were open opportunities for people to make inputs. Just like there is one now going on the National Digital Identity Scheme that is going. There's an open forum. People are calling for views. We are not used to responding to surveys, to public views. We treat them. Rigor.
So that means we need to have more engagements. We should take that pain.
It's there, but people don't respond. People don't participate. Yeah. You know, and meanwhile, people need your government or whoever need your input so that they can be better educated. So that whatever they are going to come out with as a policy or whatever, eventually, will be something that will have been representative of how they think those things ought to run. So my view is that I think it's a welcome idea, and to be fair, a lot of us have been expecting this, you know, many years back. Don't forget,
there was this attempt to resist an NGO bill, even prior to the Buhari administration.
It's not President Buhari's administration. So it's unfair. This thing has been on 7 years ago, all right, which has now been finally crystallized. You get my point. And the first one was the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria. You get my point.
Yes.
So that's what I think.
Definitely. I mean, it's for clarity, for understanding the angles, and for increased engagements, because this is for the good of the country. It
is for the good, not just the country. Institutions. You need to strengthen
strong institutions.
You need to strengthen institutions. And these are structures that need to be in place so that we have strengthened institutions that are strong and that are sustainable. Definitely. By the way, that's the real goal.
That's the real goal. Let's look at a very positive news, which of course wrapped up this week. That's the re-election of Dr. Akinwunmi Adesina. I remember we had this conversation where we expressed that amidst the investigation and the concerns, we were confident that he will come out strong. And of course, you expressed that very well, even through your social media. And apart from the fact that Dr. Akinwunmi Adesina is a Nigerian, he became the first Anglophone to have this overwhelming support, 100% support from the Board of Governors, re-election. And looking at his record, I mean, impressive, moving the AFDB, Africa Development Bank, as president from about $90 billion level to about $200 billion. And the AAA rating, you know, which is also like his initials, AAA. This is a remarkable goodwill, but performance in terms of driving the Africa Development Bank to greater heights. And I remember very well in my undergraduate years, one of his predecessors, Babaka Ndaye, had a strong vision of an Africa that has a strong, vibrant private sector that drives it. And today, Dr. Adesina, with his very key point agendas of accelerate development in Africa, industrialize Africa, feed Africa, is now back on board for another 5 years. How did you receive that news of his election?
That's a good note to end today's session, by the way. We are all proud. Not just that we are proud Nigerians, we are proud Africans. Leadership is everything. Not just leadership, the right leadership.
The right leadership.
You cannot deny Dr. Adesina's passion for Africa. You cannot deny his commitment, his body language. We'll talk about body language. You cannot deny that. His passion to see the liberation, the growth, the development of our people. Now, that's what he's demonstrated, okay? However anybody wants to talk about it, I like to be objective. He's shown without equanimity that, look, I'm just here to see our people grow. And we can grow it through who? Through ourselves. We can do it by having the right set of people around us. Leadership is everything. And even though we've said, and it's all over the place, we've congratulated him, you know, and that's what we should do. Not just because he's a Nigerian, all right, but because we've seen
what he has done.
What he has done and what he plans to do, okay? Leadership is everything. Well, congratulations once again, Big Bros. And we know you're going to do much better. We're excited, every one of us in ProShare and in WebTV, and we see you doing much better. Yes. Wishing him all the best.
Definitely, for me, it's an example of how you can improve interpersonal relationship. I mean, rally Africa to greatness. I mean, the way he's able to engage all the presidents and heads of government, inclusion. I mean, see all the goodwill messages is an example of how leadership should be in Africa. But above all, the visionary leadership he brought to bear. His 5-point clear agenda. Now people are using him as a topic for leadership. That is how.
That's the Otto, again, it's leadership. Everything boils on the right leadership. Then again, when your heart is also not glued to things that wear out.
Because even during the scrutiny period, he was calm, cool, and calculated.
When your heart is not glued to mundane things, when your heart and your vision is for higher goals. That's what we've seen.
Definitely. And we're wishing him all the best in the second 5 years. We hope to see more interventions in industrializing Africa. We hope to see more interventions in feeding Africa through investments in the agro space. And we hope to see more in terms of strategic infrastructure projects that connects the continent and leads it to greater heights. It's been very interesting discussing today with you, Mr. John Wesey, very refreshing points, particularly for me, the need for the public sector in Nigeria to rethink collaboration and look at how you can run the system in a way that is efficient and identifies with the realities of the COVID-19 pandemic. Which should lead others to take necessary steps and action. That has been an interesting discussion today on our strategic management program looking at leadership in the pandemic era. Second part of our series discussion. It was nice having Mr. John Wesey, CEO of Psyntech Nigeria Limited, a management consultant, giving perspectives on the management process and even an act that was signed during this period, the CAMA Act, and implications for not-for-profit, and also closing on the note of a worthy African, a man who has made Nigeria proud too, Dr. Akinwunmi Adesina, who got the re-election 100% in the African Development Bank, wishing him another 5 years of great impact in the continent. That'll be all for this edition. You can join our website, www.prochanging.com, to watch our videos, read our news reports, and analysis. Till we come your way again next weekend to discuss around strategic management. Wishing you a wonderful weekend experience. Please stay safe to all our viewers in Nigeria and across the world, and have a nice day.